Happy Friday! Hello, hello. My name is Portia Michelle Shibade. I am here live on a Friday. This is now my thing that we do at 12:12 every Friday ish. I think I got all this stuff off my nose. And oftentimes, I'm here to have a bit of a conversation around some things that are going on in the ethers, in community, maybe sometimes in the stars, always, always, always for your good and the good of the communities that matter to you, for yourself and for your business. Always such a big deal to me. And I am honestly so reminded of that today as I have been in community with so many people in the last couple of days and just reminded how important it is to be in my mission and in my work. And my work in the world really is in empowering, easing, supporting folks who are doing real good in the world and making their lives easier, making their businesses easier to run, making their days easier to navigate, making it easier to do the good. That's a bit of my magic. Hello, mortal mama. Welcome in. Happy Friday, darling. How you doing for real? So that's me, and that's my magic, and that's here, and that's this live. And I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about the Sagittarius full moon this weekend. And, is everyone all right? It has been a week, friends. It has been a week. We last night had a little function at the junction over with some friends. And we were like, oh, our house is kind of small. Like, we'll invite a couple people. I think we sent out a list of for 25 people. We got 17 last minute. Yeah, I can't make that. And I was like, are we okay? And then I went back and I looked through the week and thought about some of the client calls that I've had this week. And I'm like, oh, this is a very intense week for the people. And even astrologically, whatever was happening on Monday sent some interesting ripples around relationship dynamics and boundaries. And everybody that I talk to is like, it's not like the world is ending, but I'm dealing with a lot of really intense things all at the same time. And it feels a little bit like a pressure cooker. So I don't know if you had a pressure cooker week, good, bad, or indifferent. But if you did, how you doing? How you doing for real around it? You know? I always know that because Saturn is in the mix, whatever it is that is going on is likely unearthing something that will provide you the opportunity for more ease when you go revisit it again. But whatever it is, I imagine it felt pressury. It definitely was feeling pressury for me. And as I continue to let it look at what's happening in the stars and in the ethers, I see that we're coming into the release valve. As this Sagittarius full moon comes on Sunday, and today's Friday, as we're talking about it, as we're coming into the weekend conversation, there is a release valve coming. It was described, Channy described it earlier this week as like a good time for gathering with people. And I saw another creator describe it as like it may feel like a breath of fresh air after having been like this tight, contracted, squeezed for a couple of days. So just just throwing that out there if you're having a week. Just throwing it out there. If you are someone who's having a week, just throwing that out there. Okay, see. Hello, hello. I'm doing wow. I love it. I'm doing wow. Ready for that full moon energy. Yes, it's a pressure cooker year. Life holding joy and grief all the time. Baby, that intersection and that damn grief. Again, to first of all, let's set some context for the room. So, what's gonna happen while I'm here today and little chit chats is we're gonna chat about this full moon and the kind of check-ins for today, and I will share some of those check-ins for today as we go. And I'll give you a little bit of a story time of where I've been this week and how it's been living and checking in with me. So let's start with story time. I Kira, my homegirl Kira, the infamous, excuse me, let me not, the infamous Miss Kira Buckley and the infamous McKenna Anderson from Magnolia Retreats, Hey Healer, Sanctuary in the Space. We call her the Dean of Soul Work at Oshimani Learning, um, and Business Cousins Collective. From Costa Rica, popped into Vegas for like one night. We're sitting down having conversation, and gorgeous little steaks out on the floor. I ain't seen them in forever. It's been months, and I'm like hugging them because I know I'm not gonna see them for. Yeah. I'm sitting there, we're laughing, we're having conversation in a community, and the conversation of rage comes up right after we had this conversation of grief. To your point, Miss Mortal Mama, we were having this conversation about, everyone's having this, an unusual amount of rage, and it's like dealing with anger and dealing with like what this is, and then we were also talking about all being in this space of really deep grief together, really deep grief together, really deep, like just having so much to grieve because so much is changing, but also losing folks, losing jobs, losing opportunities. And when I say losing, I don't mean in the sense that, it's a bad thing per se. It's more just like having to live with the reality that that thing that I thought would be here is no longer here. From a human being level, like losing, you know, so again, losing jobs, losing opportunities, shifting clientele, losing relationships, friendships, collaborator spaces, physical places in our world are doing a lot of closing down, right? And the grief that comes along with that. And I remember when we were sitting with Kira, one of the things that we said was like, I feel like there is going to be, for the next like 2 years, solid, a real invitation to grief and rage at that intersection, because it feels like every woman of color, every queer folk that I talk to, we're under griefed and under raged. Like what I think the way I said it was like we have a rage and grief constipation. And because we don't have as many systems in our world as we used to, some of these emotions, these very helpful emotions, these clarifying, carterizing, clearing, necessary experiences and emotions, it can feel like insurmountable, like almost like everything on the inside piles to the top. And then it's this interesting experience, to your point, Miss Mortal Mama, of being in joy and grief. And I think for a lot of us, that feeling feels new. To be really honest about all of our feelings and opinions and be holding them in concert with them, with resources of how to be and how to process. And I'm definitely seeing it on all the people in my life. So I imagine if you're sitting on the other end of this call, you may be seeing it as well. You may be seeing it as well. Um, I know that at the moment, Venus and Jupiter are having a very interesting relationship in the sign of Cancer, which, as I've been studying and learning, and my girl Channy has been telling us every other day, that this is all a conversation around care. I think, one of the check-ins and questions that I have for the people, is what, after a week like this, after a couple of months like this, after being in a place of holding joy and grief, maybe you're also holding a bit of rage. Maybe you've been way more irritated than you usually be. I know that's me. I'm like, everything is irritating the fuck out of me. I don't know what you're doing here, but you're pissing me off by existing. I don't know why, but just very aware. If you're sitting in any of those spaces, my question to you as we come into this weekend is, what kind of care are you craving? What kind of care are you craving? And how can you give a little bit of that weekend? How can you be your own rainbow in the cloud for yourself this weekend, centered in your care? And what are you craving about care? And I think that every time I put the word self in front of it, it becomes this like eye roll, bubble bath, massage conversation, although I love a bubble bath and a massage. My question instead is really the care part, like heavy on the care part. What kind of care are you craving? Is it community care? Is it literal rest? Is it a different view than the one that you've been seeing? Is it just seeing something different? Is it eating something different? Is it having a different kind of conversation? What kind of care are you craving? And what's something that you can do this weekend to meet that? Something you can do this weekend to meet that. I know for me, I'm craving a very intense week. Also, just like there's an interesting conversation as I was sitting here getting ready for today, and I was contemplating the elements of Sagittarius. And as I get into a bit of that and thinking about it, I was thinking about um, Sagittarius being the place in all of us, right? So if you got lots of Sagittarius placements in your big three or your heavy Sagittarian human, but all of us have Sagittarius in our chart somewhere. Sagittarius tends to be in the place where your big beliefs are stored, where the belief systems about who you are and what you do and what you tolerate and who's important and uh, what conditioning shapes how you think about your world. What comes to mind as something to really be also in and thinking around when it comes to care is how you show up to receive care, whether it's from yourself, from your community, from your business, from wherever. And what are the beliefs that you actually have about that? And are those beliefs generative for who you are right now? Are the beliefs that you believe about how to receive care, how to be rejuvenated, how to be filled up after having been depleted, are the beliefs that you have about that system actually serving you? Right? Do you actually know how to care for yourself? Especially after moments of pressure, right? It's like after and again, I always go back to like thinking about ourselves as babies or kids, right? It's like after you've had a very intense something, the thing that you would like, what do you crave afterwards? And do you know how to even give that to yourself? And when you are stopped in giving yourself care, what outdated beliefs are sitting there about that conversation? Things I'm contemplating, friends. Things I'm contemplating. One of again these elements of Sagittarius, and anytime we have a full moon in a sign, there is the illumination of those archetypes and experiences to explore. And I'm really been encouraged with getting to come and have some of these astrological conversations with you all, because I feel like the way that I use astrology and the way that the astrologers that I love use astrology. And I'm not an astrologer. I'm a student of astrology. I love to utilize it in a way where there is an invitation in the sky at any point, at any time. And there are many different ways that you can invite yourself into that conversation. There are things that make things easier, there are things that make things harder. And the more you know about both of them, the better you can use the energy around you to you want to have and create the good that you want to see for your own life and for the communities that really matter to you. And I think that the full moon, this particular one also being a blue moon, right? This is a second full moon in a month. Normally, we only have one full moon per month, and it's in the exact opposite sign that the sun is in at that time, which is why, I'm loving this polarity conversation. If you've been in with us over the last couple of weeks, you can check back in on some of those videos on my YouTube and even some on my Instagram about how we've been talking about utilizing the new and full moon and playing with those energies as an invitation to see like what do we got in the sky that we can use. We can start with the moon. It's one of the things that always brings us pretty consistent invitations every single month, usually one new and usually one full invitation. But this month we get two. Every once in a while, when you get a second full moon, they call that full moon a blue moon. And that moon tends to carry with it a different kind of potency because it's been sitting there saturating in the juices for a little bit longer. It got sopped up. It's like that cherry in the bottom of your old fashioned. Sop it up, all the whiskey goodness. This sopped up blue ass Sagittarius moon is coming with a more engorged experience of Sagittarian themes. And these belief system theme, I think, is one that's really loud. It also makes me beg the question, what other beliefs are being illuminated by the irritation and the pressure of this week that really need to be revisited with the energy of this weekend? Think about your week. Think about all of the irritations, the relationship ruptures, the pressure that came up, how you got into the situation of the pressure. What does it tell you about the belief system that's running the show? And are there any adjustments that you feel like you would want to make? It could be to my previous point, right, where it's belief systems about care, especially because you might have got hit in the teeth this fucking week like the rest of us, and it's like I gotta care for my, I gotta go rejuvenate my cup. But that's one of many beliefs. What other belief systems are hanging out in your background? And again, the way that you will know them is likely by what you were irritated about this week. If you're watching this way in the future, I would suggest looking back at the time frame of this week, go back to your phone, look at the photos, and be like, what the fuck was I going through the week, the 4 or 5 days before May 29th, 2026? What was that? And what does it tell me about the beliefs that I hold? And does any need to change about those beliefs, shift in those beliefs so that I can have more access to power, more freedom, more liberation in my movement, more ease with which I serve myself, my community, more ease with which I receive care from myself and my community? Also, something to sit with. Another, Sagittarian theme, I think, is that level of fun and adventure and travel. And I think that oftentimes we think about travel like this, obviously it's like, I'm trying to go to Bali. Now I live in Vegas, or I'm trying to go to Vegas. Now I live in Bali, whatever that looks like. But I've also just been interested in this idea of change of scenery and how sometimes a perspective shift can be catalyzed by a location. It could be as complex as going to another country. It could be as simple as doing what you normally do in a different room in your house than you normally do it, in a different parking in a different parking spot than you normally do in your apartment complex. Seeing a friend who tells you stories of their travels that help you to be able to think about things that feel outside of whatever limitations have made you feel constrained. There's a really interesting availability for that this weekend. There's this potency in the sky that says, if you change your mind, you can change your world. And sometimes changing location can help you to change your mind. I remember being young, and I'm kind of a country girl. I think it's just growing up in a desert ass fucking town. I spent uh, my, what do we like, end of elementary school up through high school in Palmdale, California, the Kentucky of California. I mean, Fresno can argue that they fight us on that, but we're in the conversation. And so I always tell people I may have grown up 2 hours from the beach, but I grew up with more sawdust on the floor than the majority of people know it's possible in California. So I say that to say I spent a lot of time listening to a lot of country music, and being in spaces to which that would be a thing. And I remember when Jennifer Nettles and Sugarland came out with that song Settlin', and that came out, I think, when I was maybe my first, second year in high school. And there's this line in the song that says, find what it means to be the girl who changed her mind and changed the world. And I remember hearing that then, having no context for where to put it, but going, that is some shit I'm finna do. I am gonna find what it means to be the girl who changed her mind and changed the world. And I think that that's also a bit of the invitation to this Sagittarius ass full moon this weekend as well. It's like, are there beliefs that are so potent that if you changed your mind about them, you change not only your world, but the entire world around you? Is there something that you're tolerating that if you could stop, it could shift you and the 15 lives around you? Maybe the 150 lives around you. Is there something that you have been resigned around? This is just how it is. That if you could change your belief about that, it could shift worlds for you, your family, and a lot of the people that you touch and your family touches. I think that's also what's available in the space of reimagining and sitting in how our leadership, our personal leadership, shows up in what we do every single stinking day, as well as how we're running these businesses. And every once in a while, it's a really good idea to tune it up. It's a great weekend for that. A great weekend for that. And I think that it's not necessarily like a lot to do. It's more a space of inquiry. I feel like in new moons, we're smart to set in deep intention. If you want to be in ritual, the rituals are around setting a reality for the new. In full moon, the rituals tend to be around inquiry, releasing, assessing. Welcome in, babe. Good to see you. And coming into a place of understanding of the review of what's happening and attempting to see if there is things to release and doing rituals that help us to be able to do that. Interestingly enough, with a blue moon, there's this like a mix between the two. It is full of possibility, and I think it's because it's in Sagittarius. And I think that because Sagittarius is so Jupiter leaning, and at the moment, Jupiter is sitting in its favorite place to be and hanging out with Venus and Cancer, which is a great place for Venus to be. I think all Jupiter related things have this extra little bit of serendipity this weekend. And so this particular Sagittarius blue moon feels like it's going to give you a little bit of the feeling of a new moon in the sense that, not necessarily to set intention with per se, but more to set declaration about the new reality that you actually want to live in, thinking and considering the beliefs that you have held, right? What can I release there that would create a new reality for me? And that feels like the yum and inquiry to be sitting in. And one of the other Sagittarian invitations that this full moon is giving us, truly. Lastly, I would say in that space of like invitations I am seeing and picking up and wanting to invite you into from the Sagittarius full moon this weekend and to be thinking about while you're out doing the things is more whimsy. What we love about a fire sign, what we love about a Sagittarius is a good story told with lots of inflection and whimsy and fun, and there's a lightness to it, a silliness that is magnetizing and delicious. I have been saying, that's me telling y'all I'm from Palmdale. I've been saying to all of my people, like, I am craving a Palmdale ass summer. And I think that, like, my idea of whimsy is hanging out with the people that I love with very little agenda. You remember back in the day when you just would be doing shit with people? Like, come with me, I'm finna run to the Walmart. Like, girl, you wanna hang on this phone with me while I do my laundry? I made too much breakfast. You wanna come over and eat? Or I'm in the neighborhood and I know you cook every day, every Sunday at 12. Can I come get a plate? I am craving that kind of care like nobody's business. If you're someone who's craving it too, right? Just a nod that I'm setting some intentions and putting some direction towards more of that. More of that. This is a good weekend to set for a summer of connection and a summer of, at least for me, connecting with the people that I actually like, that I know I already love, with lowering the stakes and upping the connection and relationship. When we had folks over last night, I was so like truly, as Jasmine Danielle will call it, in my Antoine Fisher moment. I'm just like sitting there in the corner watching people eat, the variety of potatoes that I created. Because y'all, I have been, and speaking of whimsy, I have literally been like dreaming of creating a potato bar for my friends with like baked potatoes and sweet potatoes and mashed potatoes and potato chips and like a whole bunch of different toppings. And I totally did that last night. I was so excited about it. I've been trying to do it since like January, and this just was not coming together. So I got to see it come to reality. And as a if you're people who create things, to sit and watch people consume your creation is like so delicious. But then so many conversations, like I was ear hustling so many expansive ass conversations. And I was like, everybody in this room is getting hit with some shit right now. Everybody, like, again, for the 8 people who showed up out of the 25 that were like, I can make it, you go around and it's like, oh, what's going on with you? And it's like, oh, damn, 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 damn. It was one after the other. But no one was in there lamenting. It's telling the real about like, this fucking shit is hard. Here's why I'm upset about it. Here's what's real. Here's what that looks like. This is unfair to me, and this is why. We're telling the real, we're telling the truth, but nobody was being buried. Everyone had an interest in being planted. Everyone was like, yeah, and the grief but the joy. Not to bypass it, but to say that we're capable of both things at once. And I don't give a fuck what's happening in my current fucking reality. I am going to find a way to survive, sustain, thrive, have the nerve to have a good time, have the nerve to look good while I'm fucking doing it. May not be resourced, may not know how it's happening. I'm just saying it out loud. I'm just calling it, decreeing and declaring it. May not have an action plan. But that is what the conversation was like. And I was like, see, this is why I hang out with people that I fucking hang out with. This is why when there's so much doom and gloom going on, I can be in rooms where people are not spiritually bypassing, but also not fucking laying down and letting the world roll over them and pretending like that's the only thing that's happening. And I will say, I was like, these are the friends I've always wanted. And these are the conversations that keep me in a place of not going into defeat and despair. Lots and lots of things in the room that were talked about should have defeated the people who were in the room talking about them. But I'm not taking it, and neither are they. That audacity feels very Sagittarian. You ain't finna just roll over me. I used to have a mother-in-law who was a Sagittarius. That was absolutely her energy. You ain't finna just roll over me. I don't care whether I'm right, wrong, or indifferent. What you not finna do is roll over me. And I think a lot of us can borrow that audacity when it comes to the circumstances that we're sitting in. And watching it happen live in real time by ear hustling conversations with people that I love in my living room around a baked potato and a little chive with some sour cream on it was literally just what the doctor ordered. And again, a reminder that in some ways, our people are great representatives of divinity living and walking. And I definitely felt like, damn, the living ancestors is tight. The living ancestors is tight. God is moving in this room. Source energy is present in the people and in the faces of the people. And even when it's just you and your homies sitting around a baked potato, yelling at each other while you're playing Uno, that may be a balm that you're craving in your circumstance, right? It in and of itself, for me, was looking at the world from a different view through the eyes of the people who were in my space. So why am I telling you this story? Again, I think that Sagittarius has this invitation of whimsy and connection. And there's something about the Jupiter nature of Sagittarius that brings us into that higher level consciousness, our understanding of how we view God and spirituality, that I feel sometimes gets really lofty. But when you're in front of someone that you love, having a real conversation, having a breakthrough for yourself because of something that they shared, it gets real, tangible, grounded, somatic, and in one's face. And that's also God, that's also juice being given from the divine to help you sustain the times that you're in at the current moment in time. Whatever that circumstances is, good, bad, or indifferent. Good, bad, or indifferent. Mm. Those are my thoughts, friends. Truly. Those are my thoughts about this Sagittarius full moon weekend. Those are the things that I'm contemplating and I'm inviting you into contemplation around. If we go do a little bit of a recap, right? How you doing for real? We have to assess first state. What's the reality of where I am? How you doing for real? And then we looked at Venus in Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer, right? What kind of care are you craving from yourself this weekend? And what's one way that you can be able to meet it? And then when we look at some of the themes for this Sagittarius full moon weekend, this from today all the way through the weekend, I would love for you to contemplate your beliefs, right? Are my beliefs generative for the person that I want to be right now? Does anything need to be shifted? Is anything outdated that needs to die off? How am I playing in whimsy? Right? Is there more whimsy that I can add to my life? Can I add more ease, more audacity like a Sagittarius? Are there any more Sagittarian themes that I can color my life with while the moon is full and fat with all of that good Sagittarius energy? And then lastly, is there any other view that would support you at this time? Is there a different perspective, whether it comes through the God of a person or the God of a new space or the God of a new coffee shop or the God of doing something else in a different room in your house or the God of booking some real good travel? Because it's time and it's been time. Is there any of that that feels like your mouth is watering, you're craving for it? Can you give yourself some audacity to set some declarations around that this weekend? Those be the things, friends. I encourage you to take excellent care of yourself. I know a lot of us had a very intense week. So healing seems like it is on the docket for the girls. Healing, 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 healing. Time. Put yourself on your calendar if you can. And if it can't be this weekend, find 2 or 3 days next week that you can find an hour or two to chunk out just to give yourself a bit of respite, particularly if you've been running for the last 7 days, like I know a lot of people have. Okay, friends. Have a wonderful week. I'm not going to tell you all where office hours are this week because I don't even have where my calendar is, but I am going to tell you all if you are interested in office hours, I would suggest that you check out Business Cousins and Squad. Be in your Business Cousins calendar because June is the last month for office hours as they are known today. The office hour framework is going to be shifting and changing. We're not going away, but we are absolutely. I literally sent an audio this morning out to the people. We are going back into the chrysalis. We are dissolving ourselves into goo so that we may come out the butterfly here in a couple of months. And so we will be in chrysalis stage for really all of July. So there will be no office hours in July. We'll be coming back with our new format and introducing that to you all in August. So that means that office hours, as you know and love them, only exist in June. So if you've been waiting to come by, you've been unsure about when and not sure about the how, I would suggest you make some time to be in office hours in June if you wanted to experience it in its original format. This is the time. This is the time. All right, my loves. I have office hours today at 2 p.m. PST. So in about an hour, I will be on office hours. So if you've got questions, you're in my community, you want to come and ask those questions, there are links for all of those things in my bio if you don't have them. If not, they are on the Business Cousins calendar. I am excited to be doing that. I also want to extend congratulations for us this week. We just graduated our first 6 weeks of our cohort. We are now moving into the second stage of Parshell and I as teachers of Ocean Money Learning, and we have been loving these group learning experiences. Our students have been telling us that great things are happening. I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but I see progress. So if you are somebody who also wants to explore the business of your expertise, your offerings and services, Even this summer, we're going to do a lead magnet cohort. So that would be something also to pop in with us if you're interested in learning more about. If you have any interest in how audio is working, this summer's lead magnet cohort is going to be kicked off by a workshop on our favorite things right now about using audio to learn and teach. And so we've got that coming up on June. Let's see, y'all gonna make me get a calendar out. Make me get a calendar out. They done changed the emojis in Google. So now I'm like, where is the things? But where are the things, Google? But where are the things? It's going to take 200 years to load. Y'all, my computer has decided that every click is like insanely laborious. And I don't even understand why. I'm like, I clicked one thing, but I think it's time for a new computer. But, it's going to have to come when it comes. Come on. Come on, calendar. Do the thing. Do the thing. Babe, you're sitting here live. Now you can see exactly how long it literally takes me to click one thing. Okay. So June 24th is going to be our Power of Audio workshop. 10 a.m. PST to 12. So if you've been thinking about leveraging audio, private podcasts, audio lead magnets, audio reads of your book, um, Furious Thoughts, private podcast feeds, public podcast feeds. If you've been interested in just what we all things audio and learning and teaching, we'll be talking about that on June the 24th. So save the date. Save the date. Okay. Yeah. Now let's do that. Parshall said, let's go to the store before dinner. Look, again, I'm like, I don't know if I got this money or how much it's gonna cost me to make sure that I can click something. It doesn't take 35 fucking seconds for me to wait for the click. I have a business online. Anyway, y'all can come in for that. That's the it. That's the bit of the business. Love y'all for real. Take excellent care of yourself. I'm excited to come back next week and have a chit chat with you about our next things. I feel the desire to talk a little bit more about what communal moving looks like and about the power of piecing up with friends and fam to better resource ourselves to navigate the current circumstances that all of us are in. And that is a business use case and a personal use case. So I may come and have some chats about that because that feels loud and important to talk about over the next couple of weeks. Or we may talk about lead magnets because clearly we're in that conversation. Hi, Kona. Good to see you. All right, friends. Have a wonderful Friday. Take excellent care of yourself. I'll see you next time. YouTubes. That means you too. You can take excellent care of yourself. Do you promise? Am I going to have to chase you for it? At least this weekend, will you do one thing for yourself? You promise? Okay. Good job. I'm proud of you already.